amplified by Coke Studio. 5 weekends, 30-plus live performances, and all the thrills. See some of your all-time favorite artists like LeAnn Rimes, Flo Rida, Bret Michaels, Toby Mac, Brantley Gilbert, Sugar Ray, and more. Enjoy rides, live music, and refreshing ice-cold Coca-Cola on select weekends in July and August. Free with park admission. Get more info at Carowinds.com.
Got something to say?
Ring us up on the Love Chevy phone line
at 803-404-6100. 107.5 The Game in Columbia. 100.5 The Game in Florence. 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. The Game Network.
WIS-TV First Alert Traffic
is sponsored by Wetzel's Automotive in West Columbia. Wetzel'sAuto.com.
All right, let's take one last look at your traffic and weather for your ride in on this Wednesday morning. Believe I've heard everybody's been minding their manners for the most part today. And it looks like we are actually doing okay out there as of right now. Do have an accident to report at Forest Drive and Percival Road. And then another accident. This one's going to be at Trenholm Drive and Decker Boulevard. Other than that, everything looking pretty okay for your ride in on this Wednesday morning. Stay safe out there.
WNKT FM, Eastover, Columbia.
The home of the national champion Gamecocks women's basketball team. Congrats, y'all.
A Cumulus media station. The extra point, the extra point, the extra point, the extra point.
With Tyler Head and Gamecock Central
on the Game Network.
9 o'clock on your Wednesday morning. Welcome in. It is the Extra Point here on the Game. Tyler Head along with you. Oh boy, we have a lot to get to over the next couple of hours. We are officially halfway through SEC Media Days. Wednesday today, day number 3, and we'll check in again with Terry a little bit later on in the show out there in Dallas, see how the crew is doing, getting ready for what might be the most intriguing day overall when it comes to the lineup of speakers that we're going to have today. Now, yesterday was loaded from top to bottom. You had programs that I think everybody is intrigued about to some degree that were speaking yesterday with, of course, Kirby Smart with Georgia, Josh Heupel with Tennessee, Brent Venables with Oklahoma, and Eli Drinkwitz with Missouri. Those are all teams that are going to factor into being in that top half of the SEC, and we'll get to some of the what they had to say over the course of the show as it goes along, and excluding, Georgia and Tennessee because they're not on South Carolina's schedule, which is still weird to think about this year. The Oklahoma and Missouri game are two of the bigger ones that South Carolina is going to have to deal with. So we'll dive into what those respective head coaches had to say a little bit later on. But today, you kick things off right at an hour from now out there in Dallas with Kalen DeBoer, the guy that I think everybody this whole week is probably most intrigued to hear from, because he's somebody that is obviously in a unenviable position. I don't know if that's the right way to put it or not, but he is taking on a daunting task of having to take over for the greatest college football head coach in all time in Nick Saban. And how is he going to handle that? It'll be interesting to see, what he has to say. I don't think he's going to give us anything crazy by any means. He's been at the helm now for 7 months. And everything that we've gotten out of Tuscaloosa so far seems to indicate that everything's going just fine. They're recruiting really, really well, which I didn't expect that to drop off too much. And we're all interested to see what happens, when toe finally meets leather and when you see this new regime of Alabama football in action later on this fall. You got Lebby at 11:35. I don't think that's going to move the needle too much. Florida with Billy Napier at 150, from the perspective of how many questions is he going to take about his future and the status of his job? And because, that's all we really talk about with Florida up to this point is, can Napier survive 2024 with the god-awful schedule that they have, god-awful from their standpoint, and having to navigate through that back half where they may not win a game from the middle of October on. That's realistic. And, not a betting person. I've said that many times, but if you told me that Billy Napier wasn't going to be the coach of Florida by the time the Florida State game rolls around, I'd believe you. I'd put a little money on that probably. So intrigued from the standpoint of what he's going to have to say and how he answers those tough questions that are going to be asked of him. And then, much like Brent Venables yesterday, you have Steve Sarkisian coming in with Texas and what he's going to say about the Longhorns coming into the SEC later on today. That'll be at 3:20 later on this afternoon. Of course, South Carolina already got their stuff out of the way on Monday. We heard from everybody. We've played clips from Beamer and Debo and Boogie and Doty. And, for the most part, South Carolina's not much of a talking point for the rest of SEC Media Days. And this goes back to what what Beamer talked about, what Debo talked about, that, they understand their place. They know they're a team that's not going to be favored. They know they're a team that's not everybody's appointment viewing necessarily when it comes to games coming up this season. But they believe in what they have. They believe that they're going to be better than what's projected of them, and they're going to be a team that's going to turn some heads. But they don't need to use that as the bulletin board material and the rallying cry like, nobody believes in us. They get it. They went 5-7 last year. They underachieved after having a spectacular year number 2, the year before. So they understand why people are down on them. They're not saying you're wrong for thinking that, but they believe they're going to be able to go out there and prove those people wrong in due time. So despite the fact that South Carolina is done for the week, all the haze in the barn for what they're going to do at Media Days, there is one name that is still floating around a little bit relevant when other programs are talking. I want to start off with this. Yesterday, Mykel Williams, who is a star defender for Georgia, going to be a high draft pick this upcoming year, was asked the question of who he thinks the most athletic player in the SEC is outside of his own roster. Here's what he had to say.
SEC who's not under.
I just seen you go to South Carolina, Nicholas Harbor. He's a big-time track guy. He's crazy athletic. If not on Georgia, I think that's my answer. I'll give you Nick Harbor.
What's the craziest thing you've seen him do athletically from far? What stands out?
I ain't really seen him athletic with my own eyes from what I hear. I hear a 10, 100-meter guy, and he weighs 230, 240. So that's insane.
Nick Harbor has a reputation that precedes him. Everybody's probably heard up to this point about his track stuff, his aspirations for going to the Olympics, and, to be brought up by one of the better defenders in the SEC, it's pretty noteworthy. I think that's pretty neat that, Nick Harbor already has that kind of recognition despite the fact that, he's still coming along as a, wide receiver at the college level. But when you have that freak athleticism, and he ended up on that freaks list of, the athletic a year ago, you're going to turn some heads. You're going to get some attention, and he's certainly doing that. I do think it's also interesting that, this being the week of the release of the EA Sports College Football 25 video game, that Nick Harbor's getting a lot of attention from that standpoint as well because of his rating. His speed rating is at 99. One of only 2 players in this game with that fast of speed. And I know Bill mentioned a little bit earlier, was watching his son, just kill his opponents with go routes with Nick Harbor because that speed is truly unmatched in the game. And, that could be a way for a lot of people that may not know about Nick Harbor to be further introduced to him as we get closer and closer to the season. And again, as we know, a lot of eyes going to be on what he's going to be able to do for South Carolina this upcoming fall. Now, locally, there is a concern that he has not been able to be in football mode this entire offseason because of his track commitments, which we understand, and we know that was part of the deal with him coming to South Carolina, that, hey, he's focused on this track thing too. He's got Olympic aspirations. That's all well and good, and he wouldn't have come here if he wasn't able to do those things. The unfortunate knock on that, especially after, getting his feet wet a little bit his freshman year, was he's not going to have that same time to work one-on-one with Coach Furry, be there for all the spring practices as far as actually participating in the practices to, help him along. He's been back in full football mode for the past couple of weeks, but still, he has a lot of catching up to do from what these other guys were doing throughout the spring. And you do wonder how refining those skills in a short time will come along. And a big point of that is also working with Coach Furry for the first time. You had Stepp as your wide receiver coach a year ago, and I'm sure he and Nick had a great relationship and were working on certain things. But then when he's no longer with your program, and you go from, then Coley comes in and he leaves, and now you're with Mike Furry, like there's a getting up to speed process when it comes to working with the new coach. And, again, I think it's going to be interesting to see where Nick Harbor lands as far as his offseason development goes, and, what kind of progress he can make this year. And one thing that he does have going for him this year is the open opportunity. We think about when he comes in a year ago as a 5-star, and as I've talked about many times, when you come in as a 5-star, there's going to be a lot of attention put on you. I call that the shiny object syndrome, where people see that 5-star rating and they expect huge things out of you from day one. And a lot of people were saying, as the season went along, what the heck? Why is this Nick Harbor kid not popping? Well, again, it's because he wasn't playing his natural position, and there is an acclimation period to that and development and all that kind of stuff, to where, we saw him get a little bit better as the season went along. But he also went into last year with the anticipation of who wide receiver one was already going to be. Now, going into the year, that was Juice Wells. Juice Wells gets hurt. We don't see him after the Georgia game. Xavier Legette steps up. He's wide receiver one for the rest of the year. Obviously worked himself into being a first-round draft pick. This year, it's wide open, though. The entire wide receiver room has basically been flipped, if we're being honest, to where we're sitting here, 45 days until kickoff saying, well, I don't know who wide receiver one's going to be. It's an open spot. And ideally, you'd like that to be a receiver on the taller side, somebody that you can line up at that X spot, somebody that you can find downfield that can go up and get those high-pointed balls, which, again, that's Nick Harbor to a T. If he can prove to take some steps forward this offseason. You have Delvon Campbell coming over from Nevada that we think might be the placeholder in that spot if Harbor's not ready to go. But there is ample opportunity this upcoming season for Nick Harbor to be your number one guy. And maybe it doesn't happen right out of the gate. Again, you're just getting back into the swing of football over these past couple weeks. So maybe the first couple weeks, Harbor's used situationally. But I think the hope by most people is that by midseason, he eventually evolves into being your number one guy. And again, with the freak athleticism that he has, the speed, all that kind of stuff, the size, if he can be refined enough with the things like route running and just the little nuances of playing the wide receiver position that he was trying to perfect in his first year, and obviously will be working on leading up to the season, if he can get those things nailed down and can live up to the potential of what we all hope he can be, I mean, this dude could be a monster by the end of the year that, outside of the video game with his 99 speed is going to be turning a lot of heads. Now, again, that's getting a lot of steps ahead, obviously, but plenty of reason to be excited about what Harbor can do in year number 2. And again, like I said, his reputation precedes him, that he's just a freak athlete that when he gets the ball in his hands can make plays and be very dangerous. And we hope to see that on full display, certainly this upcoming season. So we'll see where that stands when the season does finally get here. Again, 45 days until we kick things off with Old Dominion in week number 1. We got plenty of Media Day stuff to get to, and we'll get to some of the sound from yesterday as the morning goes along. But it is Wednesday. We do, as always, talk a little bit of racing on Wednesday morning with Jen Jensen from the early game. We'll hit that coming up next. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head along with you on your SEC Media Days, Day 3 Wednesday morning here on The Game.
The Game Network in Columbia.
107.5 The Game.
In Florence.
100.5 The Game.
In Myrtle Beach.
100.3 The Game.
Ever been on this date?
You're a good-looking man.
Thank you.
Very pretty. Real soft, delicate features. They're real feminine.
And thought, man, I'd rather be listening to The Game right now.
Welcome in to the afternoon show. Alongside Elijah Campbell, I'm Jay Phillips.
Well, just go to iTunes or Google Play and download the Game app. Sure, you may no longer be with that person anymore, but you'll never be without the game again. 107.5 The Game. Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios.
Take up to $20K off new Silverados.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. Together, let's drive. What you're talking about. Sponsored by Love Chevrolet, South Carolina's #1 volume Chevy dealer. Don't let the summer of savings pass you by. I-26 at Harbison and at lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive.
Do you remember your first Gamecock game? Who you were with and where did you sit? Where did you tailgate? What were you wearing? The idea that all those memories can come flooding back the moment you set foot on campus is real. So this year and every year, come to campus and catch a game. Whatever the game, whoever you're with, just catch a game. Get your tickets today and catch a game at any time for any sport. Online at GamecocksOnline.com.
TEC Equipment Rental is proud to be your certified local Takeuchi dealer in West Columbia, Orangeburg, and Somerville. Takeuchi has long been a world leader in the compact construction industry, and now with 0% financing available on all machines, let TEC Equipment Rental help you find the right machine for the job. Their full line of excavators, track and wheel loaders, as well as attachments, are designed for low maintenance and high productivity. Stop in today for a demo or visit online at tecrental.com.
We keep the clutter out of your gutter. Call on the gutter man.
The Gutterman offers a variety of guards for your gutter. Protect your biggest investment. Call the guys in the powder blue trucks. Locally owned and operated for 46 years. Call 791-7147. That's 791-7147.
We keep the clutter out of your gutter. Call on the gutter man.
What's up, Gamecocks? Ben Cato, third-generation owner of Cato's Power Equipment. Here with a few tips to help make summer just a little bit easier on your zero-turn lawnmower. Hot days mean you might be running through engine oil just a little bit quickly. Give that dipstick a check every day. And consider switching to Kawasaki K-Tech 20W50, designed for ambient temperatures over 120 degrees. Dry days mean extra yard debris. Make sure that the top of your cutting deck stays clean and doesn't get packed with dry grass, hay, or straw. If you're worried about keeping it clean, a handheld blower from Steel, like the battery-powered BGA 60, is perfect for it. And don't forget, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of, well, having to pay to get your lawnmower fixed. Consider using these blistering afternoons to give your equipment some extra TLC. For all the parts, service, and advice you'll need, do what the pros do. Come to Cato's Power Equipment. Visit us at 4012 West Beltline Boulevard or always online at catospowerequipment.com.
Gunner here with the mortgage guru Jacob Crowder from First Palmetto Bank. If the new year has you in need of a guru in this market, Jacob will get you taken care of. Just a few years ago, he helped me, and I personally recommend him and First Palmetto Bank, who's owned and operated right here in the Midlands. Jacob has local decision makers, which means quick and precise processing and underwriting. So if you're looking to make a move, give Jacob a call today, 803-719-1005, or email him at jcrowder@firstpalmetto.com.
Thanks, Bill. It's nice to have the band back together. Interest rates have stabilized, as well as the local housing market. Now is a good time to buy a house. At First Palmetto, we have products that help home buyers keep payments down. Also, if you're considering building a home, we have a no-nonsense construction loan fit your needs. If the new year brings change, we can help you. Give me a call, 803-719-1005.
Great news on the housing market having stabilized. So that makes it a good time to buy?
Absolutely. That sums it up, Bill.
Call Jacob Crowder today, 803-719-1005.
My MLS number is 198432. First Palmetto is a member of the FDIC and an equal housing lender. reminder.
Hit us up on the Firehouse Subs text line, 803-404-6100.
Your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia, 107.5 The Game. Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach and 100.5 The Game in Florence.
The Extra Point
with Tyler Head and Gamecock Central
on the Game Network.
And through 3 for the final time, the driver of the 12 looking for win number 12. It's going to be the second time he'll see the checkered flag here at Pocono. Ryan Blaney wins again in 2024.
Good job, Timmy. Good job, man. Hell yeah, boys. Let's go.
Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head along with you on your Wednesday here on the Game. And as we do each and every Wednesday, it is time to talk a little bit of racing here on the Extra Point. Jen Jensen joining me as she does each and every Wednesday. And, you know, Jen, I've always had a soft spot for Pocono. It's not the most exciting racetrack usually, but given the chaos of the past 2 weeks at Nashville and the race you were at, Chicago Street Race, you know, there's nothing wrong with the pretty straightforward, average Pocono race on a Sunday like we saw this past weekend.
Yep, I do. It was perfectly fine to be able to get the race in and, you know, regulation of sorts. And, yeah, just to have a good old-fashioned race without just tons of drama. I'm kind of okay with that.
Yeah, look, every week can't be a barn burner, and like I said, after the excitement of the past couple weeks, it's okay to revert to the status quo a little bit. But man, you heard the call there from Rick Allen on NBC Sports. Ryan Blaney, 12th career win, second time he's ever won at Pocono, place that he got his first career win. But we are hitting the summer of Blaney. It seems like had his first one at Iowa a couple weeks back, should have won at Gateway a few weeks before that, a 6th at Nashville, 10th at Chicago last week, and another victory here at Pocono. It wasn't all that long ago. We were talking about the Fords struggling to be anywhere close to the front, and now not only Ryan Blaney, but Ford as a whole has really kicked it into another gear this summer.
That's what I was kind of going through some of the stats and noticing. It's like, wow, look at Logano and look at Buescher. Just the resurgence, because at the beginning of the season, it was not looking really good. So whatever Ford has done to kind of put things back together, it's really worked, and it's been exciting to see.
And it's interesting because, you know, look at the past couple of years where, you know, Ford and Team Penske specifically with Joey Logano and Ryan Blaney won the championship. They were two guys we were not talking about in the middle of the summer. Logano, they had both won races to get themselves into the playoffs, but we weren't exactly talking about them as being serious championship threats. It's kind of a 180 now, where now they're really hitting their stride at the midpoint of the summer. What does that mean for Phoenix in November? I don't know, but there's certainly more factors right now than they were at this time a year ago.
I would agree, and seeing that, you know, Blaney now has 2 wins under his belt, Logano kind of finally had gotten one. It just makes you wonder, are there a couple more wins in the Ford camp that could be coming for the team? And then kind of rounding out and looking at the playoff picture, I'm looking more and more just kind of, I mean, I know there's mathematically, maybe it's not even possible at this point. I haven't done it, but I just feel like could we hit that 16 mark, or do you think that 12 or 13 is about where we're going to top out as far as winners are concerned?
It's very interesting because we're at 12 winners right now. Still have a couple more races to go until we hit the playoffs. I mean, you look at some of the names that still have not won yet. Obviously, Martin Truex Jr., Ross Chastain, Kyle Busch, who we'll get to in a moment. Very realistic that I think we could maybe flirt with probably 14 or 15. You do have Daytona, which is a bit of a wild card. Michigan could turn into a fuel mileage thing. Maybe Buescher could win there or something like that. But I don't know if we're going to quite get to 16, but it will be interesting to see what happens these next couple of weeks.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of how the season has worked out, and that's why it's kind of an intriguing possibility to me, because there have been some kind of, I mean, Austin Cindric picking up a win. Really wouldn't have seen that for this year. So,
right.
I'm still having some fun with this, with the playoffs. And, yeah, when you were starting to allude to Kyle Busch, I mean, is he just we talked about it before, does he need a rabbit's foot in his pocket? Like, what is going on? I mean, bless him.
A rabbit's foot, a 4-leaf clover, He just needs to find a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow at this point because his luck has been god-awful. And it's just been Richard Childress Racing as a whole. They have been pretty terrible this entire year to this point. And Busch is now on a point where, I mean, he's got to win in these next couple weeks if he wants to make the playoffs. But he even talked about it after the race on Sunday that even if I get a playoff spot, it's not like I'm going to be a factor for the championship. Like, this is very rarefied air that Kyle Busch is not used to being in.
And you're right. And to be so dejected. And he's at that point now where, okay, he's probably starting to think about the end of his career. And does he make a move to another team? I mean, I don't know the contract information for him, but does he try to seek out another team? Does he just ride it out? Like, what are his options?
Yeah, that's a good question. I know he's locked in with Childress for, I believe, at least another year, and then maybe I think he can explore some things after that. But with the trouble that he's had this year, I don't know how he could subject himself to another year of running subpar if that is kind of what's in the card for him and that team.
Well, and I can't imagine that he couldn't get out of that contract. And like I said, I couldn't remember if this was it or if he had one more year. But, yeah, I think there have to be options for him if the performance continues. It's one thing, to have LaJoie bump him, which, well, I don't know what LaJoie was thinking, going down on the apron like that, and then right before a turn, like that just wasn't smart. But either he's been on the end of bad luck, or they've just not had the performance, and that's just how Kyle Busch is built for.
Yeah, and again, he's got his winning streak going. He's won every single full-time season he's competed in the Cup Series, and that is in major jeopardy as we're past the halfway point of the season. So we'll see if he can get that turned around anytime soon. This weekend we head back, rightfully so, to the Indianapolis Oval. The Brickyard 400 celebrating its 30th anniversary. We've done the road course thing the past couple years. It didn't work for me. I was open to exploring something new, but just something about being at Indy and not racing on the oval felt very wrong. So I am glad to see it returning to its tradition. We get a crown jewel race back this weekend in the Brickyard 400.
I'm thrilled about that. I just think that the other was okay. It's great experiment, but I think it's just better when you have the traditional, because that's what Indy's known for. So why would you just stick with that? So I'm really looking forward to, and again, this is a time that the Fords will have a chance to maybe shine a little bit as they've improved. So, of course, I love Indy anyway, so having NASCAR back there in its full glory, I think it's going to be some really good racing this weekend.
Yeah, it just feels right, and I'm intrigued to see how the next-gen car performs at a track like this. It's going to be very similar to Pocono. Should be a track where you get pretty good speeds going down the straightaways as well. And, I think it'll put on a decent show. I know that was kind of the knock on really the Gen 6 car beforehand, that they just couldn't figure out how to race well at Indy, that hopefully the next-gen car alleviates some of those concerns.
That would be my hopes. I am anxious to see how qualifying goes and all of that. But it's going to be an exciting weekend. I'd love to see anything happening at IMS, and I'm looking forward to a pretty good show, and just really curious as to who's going to emerge victorious in this one.
Yep, absolutely. And again, just cool to see a crown jewel, finally return for NASCAR after it's been missing for the past couple of years. So we'll chat about the Brickyard 400 next week, and then we unfortunately got a couple weeks off with the Olympic break, so gonna have to figure out what we're gonna do then.
I know. I'm always bummed at the end of the season, but this 2-week break, I really realized it's only 2 weeks, but it's 2 weeks, and are you going to force me to watch the Olympics now? Like, that's not right.
It's going to feel like an eternity, that's for sure.
It will.
All right, we'll check back in with you next week, Jen. Appreciate it as always.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Tyler.
All right, Jen Jensen from the Early Game talking racing as we do each and every Wednesday. We've got our guy Dimitri Ravanos in here coming up next. Get some of his thoughts on what's been going on at Media Days as things roll along in Dallas. That's coming up. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head along with you on your Wednesday morning here on The Game.
From the Midlands to the PD to the beach.
The Game Network.
Powered by Integrated Media. The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. A true reflection of quality.
The Game TV.
Oh, summer is the season of splurging. Don't compromise, though. Come into Twin Peaks all week and save big on some of your favorite food and beverage menu items every single day. That's summer savings starting this Friday, July the 19th, and running through next week's. Come in and check out all the cool stuff they got going down at Twin Peaks. This week, running through tomorrow, is the Bikini Week costume party, featuring a bikini costume party all week long, and specials on your favorite summer beverages, including those 29-degree draft beers, refreshing cocktails, and cheap shots as well. You can bring the whole crew, grab a watermelon margarita topped with watermelon Red Bull or a Milagro Silver Paloma to beat the heat as well. So many cool things going on with our friends at Twin Peaks. TV as far as the eye can see, amazing food, and of course, delicious beverages as well. All that with Twin Peaks, our friends down in the Vista.
We are so excited. Sound and Images has upgraded to a phenomenal facility at 807 Bluff Road, right there across the street from our friends at the State Fair. We have new upgraded facilities, video conferencing room experience that will seat up to 35 people depending on configuration. We also have meeting space and venue space on property to offer our partners at Sound and Images. Please contact Sound and Images at soundandimages.net, your commercial AV installation and live event production specialists.
Do you remember your first Gamecock game? Who you were with and where did you sit? Where did you tailgate? What were you wearing? The idea that all those memories can come flooding back the moment you set foot on campus is real. So this year and every year, come to campus and catch a game. Whatever the game, whoever you're with, just catch a game. Get your tickets today and catch a game at any time for any sport. Online at GamecocksOnline.com.
Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union wants to reward you for saving more of your hard-earned money, and they can't think of a better way to do it than with more cash. When you participate in Palmetto Citizens Save to Win program, every time you make a savings deposit of just $25, you'll be entered into a monthly and quarterly prize drawing for a chance to win up to $5,000. All the money that piles up in your Save to Win account is yours to keep, along with the interest you earned, so there's never been a better time to get the ball rolling on your savings plan. With a Save to Win account, there's nothing to lose and everything to win. Open your 12-month Save to Win term certificate account and start saving today by visiting any of Palmetto Citizens' 14 branches across the Midlands, or go to palmettocitizens.org to learn more. Palmetto Citizens, proudly serving the Midlands since 1936. Account may be subject to penalty for early withdrawal. This credit union is federally insured by the NCUA.
Weight loss surgery can help you improve your health today and reduce your risk of developing health conditions in the future, while improving your self-confidence and self-image. At South Carolina Obesity Surgery Center, their board-certified surgeons and highly skilled staff have helped more than 9,000 people reshape their lives, and they can help you too. Get started today with their free online seminar at scobesity.com.
Powered by Integrated Media, The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality.
The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass.
Dreaming of a home makeover but not sure where to start? Do what I did and call Midlands Home Renovations today. They specialize in whole home, kitchen, and bath transformations. As one of the top-rated general contractors in the Midlands, you can rest assured that your home is being placed in great hands. From modern kitchens to luxurious baths to that sunroom add-on that you've been dreaming of, they can bring your vision to life. You can see their work and contact them at MidlandsHomeRenovations.com. Again, that's MidlandsHomeRenovations.com.
Talking Hardwood.
Sponsored by Georgia Pacific.
Georgia Pacific is now accepting applications. Entry-level and skilled positions available. Great growth potential.
Georgia Pacific.
And welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head along with you here on this Wednesday as we navigate our way through SEC Media Days. Our buddy Dimitri Ravenos joining me as he does each and every Wednesday. chat a little bit about what's been going on out there in Dallas. This, this is an event that has been in Birmingham so many times. I'm sure you're very familiar with it from that standpoint. I don't know if the lobby is full of Alabama fans out there at the Dallas Omni as it was often with the hotel out there in Birmingham.
Well, remember that hotel that it was at in Birmingham for years, the Winfrey, literally was connected to the Galleria, the big mall, for so many years in Birmingham. So I often wondered how many of those folks showed up not planning to be in the lobby for SEC Media Days and just realized how close it was.
Well, here's my thing, and I know like next year it's going to return to Atlanta at the College Football Hall of Fame. There's chance for interactions, things to do, and that kind of stuff. If you go to just the hotel one, like what outside of maybe catching Nick Saban walking through the lobby holding a coffee, like what are you actually getting out of being there as a fan?
I mean, honestly, that's what it is. It's the chance to catch guys coming in and out of the lobby, particularly the Alabama and Auburn guys who probably are not staying over in Birmingham. It was a very different thing, right? Even when I lived in Birmingham, we didn't have an SEC network. We didn't really have ESPN all in on the programming that this provides. So it was a little bit easier to navigate. At this point, or I guess the last time it was in Birmingham and was this full-on thing, I think that really you go for the spectacle of it all. You go to be seen with the gigantic national championship ring on your head or whatever standout characters there were.
Yeah, I guess so. And based on our reports, I don't know if the Texas contingent or the Oklahoma fans have been doing the same thing out there in Dallas, as that's the reason why it's out there this year is to welcome in the new members. And from everything we've gotten from Jay Terry and Elijah, they seem to be enjoying themselves out there so far.
Well, remember that this could very easily be in Houston. You're right. Like it is to not only welcome in the new members, but to make it very clear that the Metroplex, the Dallas area, which I believe at least a few years ago there was a study done, but I believe it's still true that there are more Oklahoma than Texas fans in Dallas among people that care about college football. It's to send a message that this is SEC territory now. It just like when they took the conference basketball tournament to St. Louis a few years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. And, obviously we know the Cotton Bowl is the site of Texas and Oklahoma every single year. And that is now going to be an SEC rivalry, which is something to get used to a little bit. And as we've heard from Sankey plenty of times this week, no plans to expand past 16 anytime soon.
Yeah, I think that what is really interesting, particularly as you hear all of the chatter around FSU and Clemson and whatever interest the Big 12 has in those teams, that might be a saving grace, not only for the SEC to stay at 16, but even for the ACC. We have seen, I think people forget that in the past, we did see the WAC try to do the 16-team conference thing, and it was just unsustainable.
Sure.
Does power conference money change that equation? Do, literal decades change that equation? Maybe. I would bet that it probably does. I don't know that I would bet that 20 is sustainable.
It's funny you mentioned the WAC because back in the day, Louisiana Tech used to be in the WAC, and I thought that was the most insane geographical thing. You can have a team in Louisiana playing in the Western Athletic Conference, and now all that's gone out the window and seems pretty.
Hawaii was a conference game every year.
Exactly, that seems pretty tame by today's standards with the coast to coast conferences. So that obviously has been a big talking point at Media Days. Yesterday we had probably the best lineup top to bottom of coaches speaking with Kirby and Heupel and Venables and Drinkwitz, and a lot of focus when it comes to Kirby Smart and the George program has been around what's been going on with all these repeated driving violations. A couple more guys small mold, and one of them last week getting dinged once again for things happening on the streets around there in Athens. And Kirby Smart gave an answer to his thoughts on what's been going on with those driving issues around the George program. Here's what he had to say yesterday.
Yeah, I think the number one thing is disappointed. Anytime you have a situation like that, you want your kids, your players, to make better decisions. And I always say you can't be outcome related, and I'm very disappointed in the outcomes, but I am very pleased with our process we've put in terms of education, driver safety, requiring defensive driving, education, talking about it, having leaders stand up and talk about it, bringing speakers in and talk about it, suspending players, dismissing players, which we've done. I don't know to this point any coach in college football that suspended a player for a driving citation. We have. And we've also dismissed players based on driving citations. Nobody's done that.
And, that's...
I have a feeling that was directed at one particular coach who was in front of the media last week talking about how he dealt with a player's driving citation.
It probably was. And it, that's the kind of things you're supposed to say in that answer. We're disappointed. We're doing X, Y, and Z. Well, it's not working because this is a repeated issue. I thought when, Devin Willock was one of the players killed in that accident, in January of last year, that might have been the wake-up call, like, hey, guys, need to chill on this. But it's been happening multiple times since then. And, again, just happened last week with a couple of other players. So something about the process of what you're doing isn't clicking.
Yeah, he also talked about the Classic City Collective, which is the NIL collective at Georgia. He said they are, quote, substantially fining guys for traffic violations. I mean, look, go after the NIL money might be the only way to really get these guys' attention. I will say that if I am on the other side of this case against the NCAA, of should athletes be treated like employees at universities, boy, that sounds like some real employment stuff going on right there. But I do think it is the kind of thing that gets kids' attention. I'm with you. At this point, you almost wonder, in addition to talking to the kids, do you have to talk with the Athens police department and find out exactly what is happening? What is it you're calling racing? Certainly obscene violations of the speed limit. Yeah, that definitely warrants the actions that have been taken, and you can't defend that. But man, this is a really, really large amount of these violations we're seeing each and every year. Let's figure out together how we can curtail this.
Yeah, and again, look, you've got the best program in college football. You've won 2 out of 3 past national championships, bringing in great players at a high clip every single year, going to be in contention for another national championship this year. And this is just becoming an increased black eye on your program that otherwise is running pretty smoothly. So it's if you can just curtail this one thing, then, I mean, you're pretty much golden at that point. But for whatever reason, they haven't been able to nail it down. And I do think the fine is a very interesting thing because, to my knowledge, and again, we're just over 3 years in to the NIL era, I don't know, at least coaches that have spoken about it publicly, I don't know of any other places that have done something like this. But, hey, if you're a SEC football player and you're commanding 6 figures or maybe even higher, at this point, you mess up, you should probably pay for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's why I say that if I am the plaintiffs in this lawsuit against the NCAA, I'm paying attention. I do wonder if that's the kind of thing that Kirby is supposed to be saying out loud right now. But to your point, maybe this isn't true nationally, but certainly within the SEC footprint, dude, reckless driving has become as synonymous with Georgia as the victories at this point. I think anybody that's on Twitter and makes their Twitter presence largely about college football, if their timeline is largely college football stuff, you've all seen the meme about the new Georgia driving mode in NCAA 25, right? This is all over the place, and it seems to happen at the same time every year, or at least the ramifications come out at the same time every year when news is slow about the sport. And here we are, the second year in a row that this has been the majority of the speculation going into Kirby's appearance at Media Days. I will say I was a little bit surprised it was not all he was asked about yesterday, but I think it would have been crazy to think he could have avoided this entirely.
Well, and that's so that clip actually came from his more local availability that he did, not from his main room, in the ballroom yesterday. And I fully expected that to be one of the first questions that got asked. I mean, he was asked about his roster, the road schedule, Tavares Robinson being the defensive coordinator, but nobody in the main room managed to ask him about the driving thing, which I did think was a little surprising.
My buddies at SEC Unfiltered, who are there on site covering the SEC Media Days, sort of posed the theory on Monday that now that Nick Saban is not part of the conference anymore, does Kirby sort of have that sway of the guy that nobody is going to challenge too much? Maybe there's part of that, but I also think the reality of media days, and look, for people that are not in the media, it's good to understand this. So why some of the questions get asked. There's a whole contingent of people that cover college football, that cover the conference, that are physically miles away from Georgia, that this is the only time they're going to get to ask a question of Kirby all year long. And so as much as there are headlines we're all paying attention to right now, everybody has their own motivations.
There's the I feel like he gets the first question every time, the guy from one of those Oklahoma radio stations that, I mean, he's camped out in the ballroom, and he gets a question in for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, it is crazy the way some media members, and look, I'm on the record, and this is no shot to the game or to Terry or Elijah or Jay for being out there. I think media days are largely worthless. I do, from the news generation standpoint, but there are people that go all in, right? That they have their thing, whatever their shtick is going to be at media days, and they're ready to do it. And that Oklahoma radio guy is one of them, man. I'm sure he's down front, or at least as close to the front as somebody at a outlet with a lower caliber stature could possibly be.
Yeah, he's getting his money's worth out of it, that's for sure. Speaking of Oklahoma,
just so people know, like, if you've never been to one, seen the setup on TV, like, if you're not a national media outlet, you're not getting in the first 3 rows at these conferences, or at least that's the way it was in Birmingham.
Yeah, that's reserved for the Athletic, CBS Sports, all those kind of places.
The first row is reserved exclusively for ESPN at this point.
Yeah, no surprise. I mean, they're putting on the whole dog and pony show at the end of the day anyway. Speaking of Oklahoma, Venables did speak yesterday. One thing I think a lot of us have been intrigued about, his take on the horns down penalty. We did get some insight on that from his perspective and from the SEC yesterday, which we'll dive into coming up next. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Dimitri along with you on your Wednesday here on The Game.
107.5 The Game.
In Columbia.
100.5 The Game.
In Florence.
100.3 The Game.
In Myrtle Beach. The Game Network.
This is Boomer Science with the Sports Minute, sponsored by Vanguard. Today's birthday shout-out goes to Connor Bedard. Chicago's 19-year-old center won the Calder Trophy as the NHL Rookie of the Year. Despite missing 6 weeks with a fractured jaw, Bedard tallied 22 goals and 61 assists in those games. At the World Championships in Prague in May, Canadian captain John Tavares said he compares Bedard's demeanor and maturity to a young Sidney Crosby. Watch out, NHL. I'm Boomer Esiason.
Around here at Wrangler, we are all excited for spring. The longer days, the warmer nights. When you've got your pick of shorts and jeans, either works just fine. Blue skies, open roads. Wrangler, for the ride of life.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? I think my battery's dead. With free battery testing and charging, we can help you get back on the road.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
So what if I need a new one? We have the right Duralast battery for you, only at AutoZone.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
And what about my old battery? We can recycle it right here at America's #1 battery destination.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Around here at Wrangler, we are all excited for spring. The longer days, the warmer nights. When you've got your pick of shorts and jeans, either works just fine. Blue skies, open roads. Wrangler, for the ride of life.
Do you have sagging, soft, or bouncy floors in your home? Well, this could be a sign of rotten wood caused by moisture in your crawl space. Damaged wood in your crawl space can affect your home's foundation, and that can affect your home's value, and nobody wants that. Say goodbye to sagging floors and hello to a stable foundation. Contact Canty today for your free inspection at 803-424-8380 or visit CantyCanFixIt.com.
Did you know that Pepto-Bismol provides fast 5-symptom relief for nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, and diarrhea? Of course you do, because everyone knows the Pepto song. But did you know that Pepto also comes in convenient and delightful solid forms?
Pepto has very fast melt cherry chewables, liquid caps that make relief easy.
Pepto makes relief on the go easy. So when you overdo it, undo it with Pepto. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Hey, John, why so glum?
I just got let go. The company's downsizing. This is the third time in the last 2 years. I'm done with this.
Have you thought about My Computer Career? I've heard they can train you for a career in IT in just a few months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI. And you don't need prior training or experience. Now that's a recession-resistant career.
Wow, thanks. I'll check them out.
Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. mycomputercareer.edu. Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
Hey guys, Jay Phillips for the Men's Clinic. Not feeling like yourself as you get a little older? You're wondering why? Don't wait for it to change or go away. Instead, see Dr. Dan Bognight and his team at the Men's Clinic. You'll have a one-on-one consultation that will get to the root of the issue and get you back to feeling like you used to. There's no such thing as a one-size-fits-all treatment at the Men's Clinic. Get a free consultation. Schedule one at 803-875-MENS and learn more online at themensclinicsc.com.
The Extra Point
with Tyler Head and Gamecock Central
on the Game Network.
And welcome back in. It's the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Dimitri along with you here on this Wednesday morning, talking all things SEC Media Days. And with Brent Venables taking the podium yesterday, Steve Sarkisian going to be talking a little bit later on today. You knew the topic of horns down was going to come up at some point in time. That, of course, was a penalty back in the Big 12. And Texas basketball coach Terry Rooney famously getting in his feelings on more than one occasion this past year when other fans were doing it to the Texas basketball team. But we had a feeling that they weren't going to get the same kind of preferential treatment coming into the SEC. Jay and Elijah yesterday got a chance to talk with John McDade, who's the coordinator of officials in the SEC, and he gave a pretty thorough response on what would happen with horns down in the SEC this year.
Yeah, so we're going to use context, right? What was the context it's doing it in? And your little role play there gave me some context, right? You know, if I'm doing it in the face of an opponent, it sounded like we need to think about, is this taunting? Because we don't want taunting. It leads to bad things, right? It's not good for the game. It's not good for officials because it engenders ill will, which eventually will create game management issues. And we have an axiom in officiating: did you do a good job? And the axiom is, how well did the game play to TV? And that's another way of saying, if you watch 3.5 hours of this game on TV and you really didn't think about the officiating the entire time, we probably did a pretty good job. Doesn't mean we got everything perfect, right? But we probably did a pretty good job. But if we're engendering ill will on the field, game starts going sideways, you're going to remember this, right? We've lost control of the game, so we need to consider that. That sign could be given in another context that has to do with just being spontaneous, celebrating with teammates, the exuberance of playing the game, and that's not necessarily taunting, right? And I like to remind our two new schools coming into the conference that we have existing schools in the SEC that for decades have had signs that are affiliated with their programs, and they've had opponents using those signals in signs in a derogatory fashion. Think about the Gator Chomp. Think about the Land Shark signal, right? And so we have, for many, many years, had to evaluate, all right, the sign's being given, what's the context? Is this unsportsmanlike conduct, or is this just something that's a spontaneous reaction to the game? It's not engendering any ill will. We're just going to go forward and go.
So if I'm a Texas fan, I hear that and say, well, clearly the SEC hates us. They're out to get us, and they're not going to give us any good calls this year.
You talk to Texas fans, I don't think Texas fans feel that way. I don't think they do. No, I don't think they care. I think the university cares. But I'm glad he said what he said about the Gator Chomp. Like, for years, people have been running over two Florida players and chomping in their face. When, especially, like, think back to the Spurrier era when Florida was, the big bully in the conference. Horns down is such an innocuous thing that I am shocked, A, it was ever a penalty to begin with, but B, that we're asking the question about it. I feel like from the moment that it was announced that Red River was joining the SEC, that we were all pretty clear that this horns down thing is going to be fine. We're not going to do the penalty flag for it.
And it was so ridiculous in the Big 12 that any use of it on the field was going to be a penalty because, like John McDade said there, like with every other penalty in the SEC, that, yes, if you go and do it in someone's face, if I am a DB and I pick off Quinn Ewers and I go do horns down his face, guess what? That's going to be a penalty. But if I'm celebrating a touchdown against Texas with my own teammates and we all do it, to ourselves or to our fans or whatever it is, it's not a penalty. Like, that's pretty much what the letter of the law has been in the SEC for a while and will continue to be.
Think about all of the different taunting-esque celebrations we've done. Not just the gator chomp or the land shark thing in the face of the other opponent, but how often have we seen a star player have his cell phone number leaked on a team message board, and he scores a touchdown and he runs in front of the opposing crowd,
right,
flashing what looks like a telephone in his hand. I think that taunting has gone, like, I think that a penalty for it, there's no place for it in football, man. What these guys are doing is hard. They should be allowed to celebrate however they want. Unsportsmanlike conduct flags should be reserved for physical violence, like outside of the norms of a football play.
Here's my thing. I've always thought the people that make rules against celebrating touchdowns have never scored a touchdown in their life, because that's a hard thing to do. And
so to your point about let's say a cornerback pick, let's say Malachi Moore in the SEC championship game against Texas makes a huge interception, or Malachi Starks for Georgia. That seems more likely this season. Let's say he makes a huge interception and he runs over and he right in front of Quinn Ewers flashes the horns down. Brother, he earned that. Like,
sure,
I don't know. If you're Quinn Ewers and you don't like it, just like a pitcher being showed up after a home run, if you don't like it, do better next time.
Yeah, don't throw the interception. There you go.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. He said, I think in his public comments, the head of officiating, and remind me of his name again?
John McDade.
John McDade, yeah. He said in his public comments that he uses the shopping mall test, which, certainly tells you how old he is, but also is, I think, a great one. If you walked past a stranger at a mall and you flashed horns down, if you flashed the land shark, if you flashed the gator chomp at them, they would think you're insane. They would not be offended by it. So that's not a flag.
Yeah, if you're out there, doing the DX crotch chop or something, that's a little bit of a different level that sure is probably going to warrant a penalty at the end of the day. But yes, as long as it's not offensive to the average person and the context is fine, you shouldn't be penalized for it.
No, only X-Pac, who I believe is dead, right? Should be allowed to do the DX cross chop.
Still very much alive. I know he's been on death's door for a while, but he's still very much alive.
I swear, that's one of those people that, like, I swear to God, I remember him dying. I mean, you follow wrestling closer than I do. What's that?
Is that your Mandela effect, remembering X-Pac dying?
No, I was about to say, like, you follow it closer than I do, so I believe you that he's still alive, but I swear to God, I remember him dying.
No, he's still alive. China passed a couple years ago. But
God
no,
rest her soul.
He's still very much alive. So again, shout out to Sean Waltman. Dimitri, appreciate it as always. We'll check back in with you next week, as we'll be, right at a month until kickoff.
I know, man. Looking forward to it. Have a good one.
Absolutely. Dimitri Ravenos joining me as he does each and every Wednesday here in the Extra Point. Hour number 2 coming up. We'll dive into what Burton Venables and Eli Drinkwitz had to say at podium yesterday as Media Days rolls on here on The Game.
107.5 The Game. Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios.
Take up to $20,000 off new Silverados.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. Together, let's drive.
Save big during Hand & Stone's Christmas in July gift card sale. Gift cards for 1-hour massage or facial start at only $69.95. Discover relaxation at any of their 3 locations or handandstone.com. Don't miss out on this limited time offer to indulge yourself or someone special.
Whether exercising or just completing your to-do list, you want to enjoy every moment of the day. At Lexington Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, we know the importance of a healthy lifestyle. So when an unexpected injury slows you down, our team of experts is here to help, providing specialized treatment at 5 convenient locations. Visit lexmed.com/ortho to get back to the things that matter most to you. Life's a sport. Keep playing.
July 19th and 20th, come to the barbecue at the farm at Ridgeway and an evening with Larry, Steve, and Rudy, the Gatlin brothers. Barbecue competition, live music, food trucks, drinks, and of course, barbecue. Visit PWEEENT.com to purchase tickets to sample all the barbecue or tickets to the Gatlin brothers, 7 p.m. Saturday. Net proceeds go to the new Charter High School for Trade Skills. Friday, 5 to 9 p.m., Saturday, 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. Presented by Owens Corning, the farm at Ridgeway, and PD Enterprise.
prizes.
Hey guys, Jay Phillips here for Integrated Media. You know they've been the Midland's leader in home theater for the past 2 decades. From installation of amazing 4K televisions and surround sound systems to Wi-Fi that works everywhere, no one else compares to their customer service and quality. And now the guys at Integrated Media have expanded their brand to provide a state-of-the-art golf simulator experience next to their offices in Chapin. Pro Swing is what it's called. The golf simulators by Golf Zone have automatic tees. You don't have to bend over to set up your next shot. Amazing swing plate moving up to 24 different directions for a truly lifelike experience. The playing surface has simulated greenside and fairway bunkers, even 2 different cuts of rough to bring a real-life experience inside with 68 degrees of air conditioning every day. One golfer can play 18 holes in about an hour, 2 in 2. With selections of non-alcoholic drinks, domestic, and craft beer, it's fun for the entire family. To book a tee time or to get golf lesson packages, visit ProSwingColumbia.com or call 803-948-8327. Have a blast with Pro Swing and Integrated Media.
It's the Love Chevrolet Countdown to Gamecock Football.
45 days till kickoff.
No games, no add-ons, no surprises. No wonder so many people buy with confidence at Love Chevy, home of the $1,000 low price guarantee. I-26 at Harbison and at lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive.
Now you see them. That's right. Those weeds in your grass. And that's because you didn't have Midland's Landscape and Lawns treat your lawn. Hey, this is Paul Romanstein, proud owner of Midland's Landscape and Lawns. Let us take care of those weeds in the grass. Let us get that grass healthy and ready for this season. You know you want a green plush lawn? Let the pros take care of it. Somebody who's local, somebody dependable, and somebody that cares. That's Midland's Landscape and Lawns. You can find us at hateweeds.com. hateweeds.com.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? I think my battery's dead. With free battery testing and charging, we can help you get back on the road.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
So what if I need a new one? We have the right Duralast battery for you, only at AutoZone.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
And what about my old battery? We can recycle it right here at America's #1 battery destination.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
You're gonna feel a puff of air.
Jong's Optometry has set their sights on staffing up.
Try the next line. Hey, Kim, can you tell her 2 o'clock we're running 15 behind? Sorry, we're a bit backed up today.
He needs an optometric technician to keep an eye on it all.
Where are the dilation drops?
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
WNKT FM Eastover, Columbia.
Congrats to the Gamecocks women on another national championship.
A Cumulus media station. The extra point, the extra point, the extra point, the extra point.
With Tyler Head and Gamecock Central
on the Game Network.
Should be penalized, like on the field? Is that what you're referring to? I don't really have an opinion. Football is a game of emotion and intensity and passion, and if they say that's going to be a penalty, then don't do it. And if they say it's, a free-for-all, then have at it. So everybody's different, everybody celebrates different, but whatever rules that they have in place, we'll follow those.
Hour number 2, welcome back in. It is the Extra Point here on the Game. Tyler Head with you on this Wednesday morning. That was Brent Venables, the head coach of the Oklahoma Sooners, giving his thoughts on the horns down penalty, as Demetri and I were just talking about a few minutes ago. And given the fact that that is their main rival, I believe that many of the Oklahoma players would relish in the opportunity to hit Texas with some horns down at the Red River rivalry out there in Dallas this year, first edition of that being a part of the SEC. Oklahoma is a program that's going to be very important to South Carolina this year because that's going to be a road trip that South Carolina is going to have to take in the middle of that daunting slate in the month of October. I will say, when you look at the way this kind of lines up for South Carolina, though, I do think it's particularly intriguing with the way that Oklahoma's schedule is. And Oklahoma is going to be a tough opponent no matter what way you look at this. But the fact of the matter is, South Carolina catches them the week after the Red River rivalry and the week before they go on the road to Ole Miss. So we always talk about those trap games and maybe overlooking an opponent. You go from playing your biggest rival to 2 weeks later playing a team that a lot of us have penciled in as being a part of the college football playoff. Those are two huge games for Oklahoma. So maybe, especially it being an early kick out there in Norman, it's either going to be at 12 or 1 o'clock. We don't quite know as of yet. But an early kick out there in Norman after a grinded out, gritty rivalry game the week before, maybe there's a little bit of letdown there. Maybe Oklahoma is looking ahead to Ole Miss the week after that, and maybe they overlook South Carolina, and that plays into South Carolina's advantage. So we'll see what happens. Nevertheless, going to be a tough road trip in Norman on October the 19th. This whole week of Media Days has been so interesting because, as we talked about with Dimitri, Dallas is the location because this is the formal welcoming in of Texas and Oklahoma. And so much of the conversation about the SEC's two new members has been focused on Texas. Now, again, they're a program that was just in the college football playoff. Sarkisian, obviously, with his ties to Alabama. Quinn Ewers expected to be a high draft pick or in contention for the Heisman Trophy, the whole 9 yards. Like, I get why people are talking about Texas a little bit more, but it is odd that Oklahoma has been playing second fiddle when, at least especially in recent years, Oklahoma's had far more success than Texas has had. And I think people are questioning more of Oklahoma fitting into the SEC right away than what they are with Texas, because there's a lot of people that think Texas is going to be playing for the SEC championship in year number one, in Atlanta, that they're going to be in the college football playoff in the first year in the SEC, that they shouldn't have any trouble acclimating to the conference itself. Oklahoma, on the other hand, with a lot of questions on that team, is, and I'm not saying wrongfully, being questioned of how ready they are to come into the SEC. Brent Venables talked about that yesterday, why he thinks Oklahoma is ready for the new conference.
I really don't know how to answer that other than we're excited for the challenge. As competitors, as a football program, Oklahoma, isn't intimidated as a football program. We're running towards the SEC. I think that goes without saying. We've looked forward for the last several years for this partnership to be a part of an amazing conference, the best conference in college football. How ready we are, we're excited for the challenge. I think you have to go through it. I think it's probably, as a coach, I think going through it gives you the best litmus test. There's nothing that you can read about or even watch on tape, to be honest with you. We know the challenges from a roster standpoint. The trenches is where this conference is decided, usually year in and year out. Incredibly challenging from that standpoint. The length, the speed, the play at quarterback, the coaching acumen from top to bottom. Again, you're not going to sneak up anywhere, any week, in any venue, and show up and luck up and win. And so it's a conference it's about earning what you get. And I think going through it, a season, you'll figure that out. You'll figure out what was good, what wasn't good, what the areas of your program, your roster that need improvement, so that you can match up and have an opportunity to compete for championships.
And look, Brent Venables has never coached in the SEC, but if I were looking at any coach out there that had never actually been in the SEC before that knows a lot about the SEC, well, I'd look at somebody like Brent Venables specifically, given his track record and where he's been up to this point. Obviously, he was at Clemson, where he saw every single year a South Carolina team, very good South Carolina teams at points there. They played Alabama in the national championship, the college football playoff. Very familiar with that. In the non-conference slate, Clemson was always playing a Georgia. They played LSU in bowl games. Auburn, this is a guy that's played a lot of high-level SEC programs, had to scheme for them from a defensive standpoint. He understands what he's getting himself into with the SEC. Now the question becomes how they withstand that week-to-week grind of playing those games back to back to back to back to back to back to back and so on and so forth. That's where the question of is Oklahoma ready, I think, really going to come from. But again, he's a defensive guy. He's been, used to these kind of teams for a long time. I don't think it's going to be a problem adapting. We'll just see if they're able to do it right out of the gate. Perhaps their biggest question, though, comes from the quarterback position. Jackson Arnold comes in as a redshirt freshman quarterback, did get to start the bowl game last year. Highly touted guy. A lot of expectations for what he's going to be for Oklahoma, not only this year, but moving forward. And much like South Carolina breaking in Lenora Sellers at quarterback, the question's going to be, how much confidence do you have in your new guy that's never been put in this position before? Here is Brent Venables on that yesterday.
Well, Jackson understands, better than anybody what goes into being a quarterback of a football team, of a locker room, the leader, the face, the responsibilities, the challenges. What I feel best about and have the most peace about is his ability to be able to handle the highs and the lows, the challenges, the success, the failure that a season will bring you. Nobody is more competent or more ready. Now, even though he's a young player, and we've got to, in some ways, be the headlights for him. That's why they call us coach. But his skill, his arm talent, his toughness, his instincts, his ability to lead people, bring out the best in people, no question about it. He's ready for, his opportunity and his moment.
Correction, he's actually listed as a true sophomore, as he did get to play in more than 4 games a season ago, including starting that bowl game against Arizona at the end of last season. And in that game, which was his first opportunity to start, 26-45, 361 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Not the greatest outing, and Oklahoma did end up losing that game. But as we know, we don't take bowl games nearly as seriously as we used to. So it was an opportunity to maybe get some of the bugs out, work through some of the kinks, and get your first start out of the way before, jumping in, feet first into your, your first full season as a starter. So again, he's a guy that came in as a 5-star. I've seen so many times, highly touted, a lot of attention, has a lot of upside potential, and is going to be expected to come in and produce right away as the starting quarterback. Oklahoma, one of the strengths for them last year was their offensive line, and this year they're replacing all 5 of those starters up front. So how good is that offensive line going to be? Can they protect Jackson Arnold? Can they, open up lanes for him to use his feet, when he can? He's somebody that does have the ability to run the ball as well. He ran for 38 yards in that, bowl game last year against Arizona. So he is a a dual threat quarterback. So how much are they going to be able to help him out? Now, when you look at the other pieces that he has around him, he's going to be returning their leading rusher in Gavin Stostruck, as well as all of their receivers from a year ago, with the exception of Drake Stoops, who was their leading receiver. So he has a good complement of weapons around him in that offense that should help him come along and help him be successful. How successful, I don't know. I certainly don't see too many people, putting him in as a Heisman favorite by any means or anything like that, but it could surprise you. We will see how big of an issue he's going to be, particularly for South Carolina, by the time that game rolls around in in the middle of October. But again, Oklahoma, a program with a lot of rich history, a lot of rich traditions. They ran roughshod over the Big 12 for so many years. They played a national championship against Florida 16 years ago. They're no strangers to being at the top. They've made all those college football playoffs with Lincoln Riley to no avail, as they were routinely getting blown out in those games. But nevertheless, they're a program that is not all that far removed from being one of the better teams in all of college football. And, when you talk about what you're going to need to be successful coming in the SEC, defense is a big part of that. And with Brent Venables being a defensive guy, and one that, again, has gone up against a lot of great programs and helped lead Clemson teams national championships, I don't think there's going to be any problem with that crew adapting to life in their new conference. We talk about that Oklahoma game being one of the tougher ones in that already very tough month of October. One game in the month of November that we have not talked about as much is Missouri. And that might end up being one of the toughest games of the entire year for South Carolina. Eli Drinkwitz took to the stage yesterday to address the media at Media Days. We'll hear from him coming up next and look at what this Missouri team's going to be this upcoming year. I do want to let you know that the Game and Hardee's are teaming up. Make sure school students in the Richland 1 and Richland 2 school districts have all the supplies that they're going to need for the upcoming school year. The game's going to be out this Saturday at the Hardee's at 496 Piney Grove Road from 2 until 4 p.m. I believe Terry's going to be out there collecting school supplies. And when you drop off school supplies, you will get a coupon for gift certificate for 3-piece chicken tenders from Hardee's as well. So drop off some school supplies, hang out, talk some sports with Terry, get some free chicken out of it. I mean, what could be better than that? Again, that's at 496 Piney Grove Road this Saturday from 2 until 4 with the game and our friends at Hardee trying to give back to the local students here in the Richland 1 and Richland 2 school districts. Here from me, Eli Drinkwitz, coming up next. Extra Point, Tyler Head, along with you on your Wednesday on The Game.
The Game Network in Columbia.
107.5 The Game.
In Florence.
100.5 The Game.
In Myrtle Beach.
100.3 The Game.
Download the 107.5 The Game app and listen anywhere. The beach. The gym. And yes, even there. Go to iTunes or Google Play and snag the 107.5 The Game app. 107.5 The Game. Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios.
Take up to $20K off new Silverados.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. Together, let's drive.
Hey, this is Jen Jensen for CHW Cabinetry. My family is using CHW Cabinetry, and they are fantastic to work with. They make sure you're satisfied with every step of the process. Not only do their photorealistic renderings show exactly what your new space will look like, their job site guarantees everyone is on the same page, literally. Experience the CHW difference for yourself. Go to chwcabinetry.com to see more or call them at 803-520-6837 and be sure to tell them Jen Jensen sent you. CHW Cabinetry, passion from inspiration to installation.
Do you remember your first Gamecock game? Who you were with and where did you sit? Where did you tailgate? What were you wearing? The idea that all those memories can come flooding back the moment you set foot on campus is real. So this year and every year, come to campus and catch a game. Whatever the game, whoever you're with, just catch a game. Get your tickets today and catch a game at any time for any sport. Online at GamecocksOnline.com.
Save big during Hand & Stone's Christmas in July gift card sale. Gift cards for 1-hour massage or facial start at only $69.95. Discover relaxation at any of their 3 locations or handandstone.com. Don't miss out on this limited time offer to indulge yourself or someone special.
Get your taste buds ready. Chicken Parm just got an upgrade. The new Chicken Parmesan Meatball Sub from Firehouse Subs is made with savory chicken meatballs in a bright marinara sauce topped with shaved Parmesan, melted provolone, and crispy Italian seasoned breadcrumbs served on a toasted garlic bread roll. Try the new Chicken Parmesan Meatball Sub for a limited time only at Firehouse Subs. Order online or on the app today. They make their subs differently because their subs can make a difference every day. Firehouse Subs. Enjoy more subs, save more lives.
It's that time of year to be active. Time to do something about that pain in your joints. Hey, it's Preston Thorne. Stop with the steroids. Stop with the talk of surgery. Now there's a better way to get lasting relief. It's QC Kinetics, the nation's leader in regenerative medicine. Here in Columbia, they have 2 clinics in West Columbia and downtown. QC Kinetics' exciting approach uses healing properties from your own body, highly concentrated, and puts them directly into your achy joints. It can restore and repair that damaged tissue and get you moving again without pain. Knee pain, back pain, shoulder pain, hip pain. The patient satisfaction reports are incredible, and there's no downtime. Listen, the old ways of dealing with joint pain are no longer the only ways. If they're telling you that you need surgery, do yourself a favor and call the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics. Learn more about this wildly popular, all-natural way to get lasting pain relief with no surgery and no drugs. The call is free. The consultation is free. Call QC Kinetics now, 803-281-6860. That's 803-281-6860.
Quietest dishwasher in the land.
Like a Bosch.
Dishes drier than the desert sand.
Like a Bosch.
Wash the dishes like a Bosch.
Clean like a Bosch. Check out the selection of Bosch dishwashers at the Nest in the Vista.
The light is fading, your hands are sore, and the last tool's been put away. Now's the time to feel the satisfaction that comes with a job well done. But when you get your tools from Harbor Freight, something about the job feels a little different. Your wallet. Because we believe that everyone deserves hardworking tools at hardworking prices. And that's what we have here. So, whatever you do, do it for less at Harbor Freight.
O'Reilly.
You've got questions? O'Reilly Auto Parts has answers. Need a pro you can trust? We've got that too. No matter what you need, our professional parts people have the training and expertise to help you do things right. Deep automotive knowledge. Just one part that makes O'Reilly stand apart. The professional parts people.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
The Extra Point
with Tyler Head and Gamecock Central
on the Game Network.
Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head along with you here on this Wednesday. Of course, we've had coverage out at Media Days all week long with Jay, Terry, and Elijah. We'll be checking in with Terry coming up at 10:30. Get the lay of the land on day number 3. Kalen DeBoer currently speaking right now in the ballroom out there in Dallas, and we'll get some of that sound of what he had to say for you a little bit later on in the day. You know, I go back to Monday when we heard from Coach Beamer, the players, and as I said, they kind of all echoed the same sentiment that South Carolina is a team that people are going to doubt, and they want to go out there and prove people wrong. You know, South Carolina wants to be the team that people say at the end of the year, man, that really came out of nowhere. Didn't see that one coming, but how good for them. You know what I mean? Missouri was that team in 2023. We laughed, right, at Drinkwitz getting a contract extension at Missouri while being sub 500 and going into, year number 3 out there without having a winning record yet. They were picked 6th in the East a year ago. We were all wrong about the Missouri team that ended up being last year, that went on and won the freaking Cotton Bowl, for crying out loud. The one that they knocked Carolina around in Como, that's for sure. Like, that was such a good team a year ago, just missing out on being in that upper tier of the SEC. But they're one that everybody's taking seriously coming into this year. Eli Drinkwitz yesterday talked about going from being the hunter to being the hunted, which is something that Oklahoma hasn't been in a while.
Yeah, I don't think that changes for us at all. Number one core value for us is always compete to do it better than it's ever been done before. So our mentality every single week is to always compete. And it really is not about anybody else except our own internal drive and expectations to be the very best that we can be. And so we don't rely on exterior noise and exterior factors to provide our motivation. We're motivated every day with, again, always compete mindset, developing an elite edge, which is energy, details, grit, and emotional consistency with how we train, how we prepare each day in order for us to play our best game on Saturday. And you know, we have a group of experienced players. I think one of the things that helped us last year was the number of players that we had on our team with career starts. And this year we really have the same. You know, we have 22 players on our roster that have 12 or more starts in their collegiate career. And so, you know, we have the expertise. We have those letdown games in our past that really help us realize that, hey, you can't take a Tuesday practice off. You can't miss workday Wednesday. You have to approach Fast Friday with a mindset of this is what it takes to win in order for you to put your best foot forward on Saturday. And in this league, if you don't, you're going to get embarrassed in a hurry.
And I think a lot of us are hesitant to claim Missouri to be a force in the SEC. We've seen plenty of one-year flash in the pans, not only in the SEC, but across college football. This becomes the prove-it year. If Missouri can go out there and have another 9-10 win campaign, then everybody looks at them and says, okay, this is now one of the established teams in the SEC. You got to prove it 2 years in a row for people to truly take you seriously for the years to come. Again, great season last year, and as he mentioned, bringing back a very veteran group. There's a lot of reason to think this Missouri team could be good once again this year. Looking at their schedule, they've got Bama, they've got Oklahoma. Probably the two toughest games on their schedule. No Georgia, no Texas, no LSU, no Tennessee. Looking at that matchup of them coming into Columbia later in this year in November, it's not crazy to think that they could be 7-2, maybe 8-1 entering that 10th game of the season. They also have one of the best quarterbacks, not only in the SEC, but in the country that nobody's really paying a whole lot of attention to, that being Brady Cook returning for another year. Let's hear from Drinkwitz on what he had to say about his signal caller going into the 2024 season.
Yeah, I think what Brady has done is continually demonstrated a competitive spirit and a standard of excellence. He's earned the respect of everybody in our locker room, not just on the offensive side of the ball, but in every aspect of our organization, from the coaches to the players to the nutritionists, because of his consistent nature. You know, we talk about developing an elite edge. Brady's never having a bad day. It didn't matter if his girlfriend had broken up with him or if he had thrown an interception. He just loves coming to work, being in the training room. You know, we lost to LSU. He was right back in there Sunday morning ready to go to work versus Kentucky. He's very detailed and meticulous in his preparation. He spent a better part of an hour every single day in his routine right now, watching film, studying for the upcoming season. He's gritty. There's no question about how mentally tough he is and how he's willing to block out the external noise. And then he's always got a consistent approach. He's consistent every single day. And so I think the sky's the limit for him. Obviously for him, it's not about pressing. You know, we have 11 rules for quarterbacks, and we're not judged based off our stats. We're judged based off, does our offense score touchdowns? And as long as he'll continue to be a battlefield commander and not worry about being a celebrity quarterback, we'll be just fine.
I don't get any indications that Brady Cook is somebody that's worried about being a celebrity quarterback. You know, you look at his numbers here, you go 3,300 yards, 21 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, good, solid numbers. Somebody that did a pretty good job of taking care of the ball. You know, it certainly helps when you have what this year is probably the best wide receiver in all of college football with Luther Burden. And it's not just a one-man show in that receiving core, which Phil Steele, by the way, ranks as his number 2, receiving unit in all of college football. You know, you look at some guys that they're returning in Theo Weiss, Mookie Cooper, guys like that were really solid at the wide receiver spot, or it's basically going to be the same group from a year ago. Now, when you look at elsewhere on the offense, they are losing Cody Schrader, who set the world on fire. And God, he ran all over South Carolina last year in that game out in Como as well, and worked his way into being in the NFL. So you're obviously going to feel that loss a little bit because he was such a dynamic player that could do so many different things for that Missouri offense. But they might have one of the more dangerous running back duos that's not getting a lot of attention this offseason because of where these guys come from. Because they bring in Marcus Carroll and Nate Noel out of the transfer portal, with those guys, coming from Georgia State and App State. It doesn't really jump off the page at you necessarily, but I mean, these guys put up really, really solid numbers in their careers at those Group of 5 schools. And much like we look at a guy like Oscar Attaway coming in here, from a place like North Texas, the dynamic that they bring to that offense could produce a lot of results in that kind of 1A, 1B type scenario. Now, again, Coach Schrader's a great player. And it may take two guys to replicate what he was able to do, but these two guys have a lot of hype around them for what they're going to be able to do in that Missouri offense this year under Eli Drinkwitz. They also returned 3 of their 5 starters from a Joe Moore Award finalist offensive line. They also had Caden Green at left guard from Oklahoma, so that unit should be just as good as it was a season ago. Yes, they lost Blake Baker, the defensive coordinator. He went to LSU, but they replaced him with Corey Batoon, who had top 30 defense at South Alabama a season ago. So this is a team that should be probably around as good as they were a season ago. It's got nameless texter weighing in here on the text line. It says, write it down, this date Missouri will drop off the mat this year like Carolina did after 2012, not buying the Eli, I think he may have had spell correct here, Dynowitz, Missouri story. I get it. Again, it takes more than 1 year to prove what you are as a program. But with everything they got coming back, with the schedule being the way that it is, I'm just saying this could be a team that might be knocking on the door of a college football playoff. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they'll go back to being 6-7 Missouri like they were for the first couple years under Eli Drinkwitz. But for what I see, this team, I don't think is going to drop off all that far. Again, Eli Drinkwitz yesterday speaking to the media out there media days. Kalen DeBoer at the podium as of right now. We'll check in with Terry coming up next as he's out there on Radio Row. See what the lay of the land is for day number 3 of SEC Media Days. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head along with you on your Wednesday here on The Game.
From the Midlands to the PD to the beach.
The Game Network.
This summer, Hardee's and The Game are teaming up for a back-to-school supply drive that's all about giving back. Help us by dropping off essential supplies like pens, pencils, folders, and calculators at Hardee's locations like 496 Piney Grove Road in Columbia. We will be on site July 13th, 20th, and 27th from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. for drop-off. Let's make sure every student and teacher starts the school year off right. Together, we can make a difference in Richland 1 and Richland 2 school districts. Anyone who donates school supplies will receive 1 free 3-piece chicken tenders coupon from Hardee's. Limit 1 coupon per donating customer while supplies last. Hardee's and The Game, partnering to support our community.
Hey guys, it's Jay Phillips for AAA Heating and Air. For many years, AAA has been your year-round ally against changing weather across the Midlands, whether it's the hot summers or those cool winters. Let their expert team make sure that your home is always an oasis of comfort. And now, Roy and Dana Finley have a spectacular offer to make it even better for you and your family for years to come. How about 12 months, no payments or interest in 2024, plus guaranteed financing, a $1,500 system buyback rebate, and their 15-year parts and labor guarantee that speaks volumes of the trust in their service and in their products. AAA has done things at my house that make my family nice and comfortable all year long. They can do it for you too. Get a free quote today. Call AAAtoday.com. That's call AAAtoday.com or give them a shout at 803-677-1500. Tell them Jay Phillips sent you to AAA Heating and Air.
AAA Air when you need us. AAA Heating and Air.
This football season and every football season, come to campus and catch a game. Whatever the game, whoever you're with, just catch a game. Find your tickets online at GamecocksOnline.com.
Powered by Integrated Media, The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality.
The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass.
TEC Equipment Rental is proud to be your certified local Takeuchi dealer in West Columbia, Orangeburg, and Somerville. Takeuchi has long been a world leader in the compact construction industry, and now with 0% financing available on all machines, let TEC Equipment Rental help you find the right machine for the job. Their full line of excavators, track and wheel loaders, as well as attachments, are designed for low maintenance and high productivity. Stop in today for a demo or visit online at tecrental.com.
As one of the top-rated general contractors in the Midlands, Midlands Home Renovations specializes in both interior and exterior residential remodeling services. From kitchen or bathroom remodeling to a whole home renovation, they have the expertise to handle projects of any size and complexity. Their team works closely with you to understand your vision and bring it to life with precision. Any project, big or small, they really can do it all. Do what I did and call our friends at Midlands Home Renovations today or visit them online at midlandshomerenovations.com.
What you're talking about. Sponsored by Love Chevrolet. Incredible summer savings all summer long on the entire lineup of award-winning Chevys. I-26 at Harbison and at lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at getethos.com. That's getethos.com.
Hi, this is Rudy Gatlin of the Gatlin Brothers. Y'all come join us July 20th at the farm at Ridgeway. We're going to have some barbecue, and then them Gatlin boys are going to sing a bunch of them hits, and we're going to have a big time. Y'all come on, join us.
July 19th and 20th barbecue competition, live music, food trucks, drinks, and more. Visit PWEDWEENT.com to purchase Gatlin Brother tickets 7 p.m. Saturday or sample the barbecue at the farm at Ridgeway. Presented by Owens Corning and the farm at Ridgeway.
It's kickoff time, and Believe podcasts are here to get you ready for the season.
He wanted to change the culture, and he wanted me to be a part of that.
With Believe, you get immediate reactions, game previews, and expert analysis from all 32 teams, plus all of your favorite college teams.
He's just rare in just about everything he does.
Sideline to sideline, end zone to end zone.
This was good for everybody.
Just search Believe. That's BLEAV podcast, wherever you listen.
What you're talking about.
Sponsored by Love Chevrolet
on the Game Network.
Well, welcome back in. It's the Extra Point. Tyler Head along with you. It's your Wednesday back in the headquarters here in Columbia. And as we've been doing all week long, checking in once again with Terry Ford live from Radio Row out in Dallas, getting set for day number 3 of SEC Media Days. I mentioned a moment ago, Kalen DeBoer at the podium as of right now. Terry, you got to stick your head in there. Was he telling the world how much better than Nick Saban he's going to be as Alabama's next head coach?
Totally disrespectful to Saban. Unbelievable.
While he's sitting at the back of the room?
Yeah, watching. Yeah, he pointed at him, said, you, sir, Nick, whatever your name is, they will forget you by the time I'm done at Alabama.
I would say you're gonna be irrelevant by the time the DeBoer era is over.
That's right. That's right. I'll be your daddy, Saban. No, it's just obviously Kalen DeBoer. And in his opening riff, he took a minute to obviously talk good about Nick Saban and what he's been given at Alabama. And he was asked, and I was hoping I would hear this question before I had to peace out here to talk with you. Someone basically, I'm paraphrasing the question, how much of, wow, I'm replacing a legend ran through your mind before you decided to take the gig? And DeBoer said, of course it did. Because I thought he would say something like, no, I didn't think about that. I had to think about just about the job itself and the process and blah, blah, blah. But I give him credit for actually going, yeah, man, I thought about that. I'm the guy replacing the guy. But, he took it. And this, Tyler, we talked about this when he took the job. It's like, obviously, in your mind, you've got to say, all right, I want that challenge. Good luck, because we know what the guy that replaces the guy typically does, right? But I was dying for him to say this. Wouldn't this have been great? So why did you take it? Dude, you see the money they gave me?
I was going to say, that check was pretty big.
I would have loved that answer.
Well, I was going to say, and you and I talked about this plenty of times, going back to January when all this went down. He's won everywhere that he's been. Like, if you're looking for a type of guy to replace the GOAT, I mean, I can't think of a better resume than what he brings to the table.
Here's the thing, and I've thought about this, and after he was hired, you got to get away from all of the, the stuff, right? You got to get away from the stuff and just stop a second and look at Kalen DeBoer. and you hit it, and we went over this countless times when DeBoer took the gig. This dude has flat out won everywhere. I mean, Pop Warner, Division III, Division II, won AAA, Fresno State, UW plays for the championship. This is a really good football coach. Now, is he going to do what Saban did? Look, if you're saying yes or no, no, because no one's done that. But this guy's going to, I really believe, and we never truly know anything until it happens, but I believe this dude is going to win at Alabama. Not to the level of Nick, but I think he's going to win. This program is still going to be really good because this guy's a heck of a head coach.
Well, and I think it's interesting, everything that we've heard up to this point with, spring practice and what we've heard from some of the players when they've gotten to speak to the media before this week is he's already adding his own flair to this team. Jalen Milroe brought up the thing about, I threw a touchdown in practice and he told me to go celebrate. Like, Nick Saban never let me do that. You know what I mean? So, he's not coming in there trying to replicate everything that Saban did to a T. Obviously wants the same amount of success, but he's going about it in his own way. And, looking at, they're still recruiting really, really well. They obviously retained a lot of players from a year ago. They should still be one of the best teams in the SEC. Are they going to be playing for national championship in January? I don't know if I go that far yet, but I don't expect them to fall off very far from what they were.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you walk a line, right, Tyler? You've got to be you. You can't be Nick Jr. You can't be Nick 2.0. You got to be you. But you've also got to be respectful to what the greatest head coach in the history of college football did, right? I mean, played in the college football playoff last year before he pieced out. I think Kalen DeBoer is bringing his style and his personality and his philosophy and his way while still respecting Saban. At least that's what it looks like from the outside, peeping in. The mistake a lot of these guys make, and we've seen it with the Belichick assistants, they want to be Belichick clones. Mm-hmm. And they're all bad at it because there's only one Belichick. You can't be him. He's the only him. And I think Caleb DeBoer has got to be himself, and he can't try to be what Nick Saban was or what Nick Saban did. He's hearing this because it's just human nature. Well, when Coach Saban was here, he did it this way. How many times do you think he's heard that? Give me your over-under.
Oh, he probably hears that 12 times every hour.
Right. But you got to be respectful to it. But you've also got to go, look, I get it, and I understand it, and I respect it, but here's the way I do it. And look, and we've discussed this. We're going to have one of our guys from Jocks in Birmingham on today. And because all I've heard recently is, DeBoer is so much more media friendly than Nick, and DeBoer lets the assistants actually talk to the media, and they're out there doing push-ups on the field, and it's just a whole different vibe, and it's more fun, and it's more this and that, and all that's cool, right?
Right.
Until when?
Till it's time for toe to meet leather.
Exactly, and then we'll see what's up. But like I said, I do think that, given the scope of who you were looking at, you did a heck of a job hiring a guy that's replacing Nick, and a guy that's kind of off that beaten path. He's not one of Bears boys or Nick's boys, or he went to Bama, or he spent a weekend in Tuscaloosa, or any of that mess. They went out and got a really good football coach who has won everywhere, and again took the Washington Huskies to the national championship game. Again, circling back, this guy can coach, Tyler.
Sure,
he can really coach.
Yeah, and again, I don't expect that far of a fall off, compared to what they were with Saban for so many years. But we'll see what happens when we finally get some football here coming up in a couple weeks. I just finished in that last segment there talking about Eli Drinkwitz, and I thought he had the opportunity to be maybe the most entertaining guy all week long, because for the past couple of years he's come in as a sub-500 coach. We were laughing at the guy last year for getting a contract extension without proving anything out there in Como. They went out there and had one of the best seasons in program history. Like, you could see the confidence oozing out of him when talking to the media yesterday. Like, this guy knows he's got that program pointed in a good direction.
He does, and because he stands on business.
Not tall business, but business nonetheless.
But we were talking about this yesterday with a bunch of us here, and it's like you watch him and you hear him talk and all the other stuff, and you just sit there and you look, wow, one of the guys from the Big Bang Theory is coaching Missouri.
He does still have a very punchable face.
Yes, absolutely. But look, we can say all that stuff, but what they did last year was bleeping impressive, right? You win
sure.
11 games, you won your bowl game. Yeah, I mean, you were, even in your losses, you were hanging around, right?
Right.
I mean, that was a really good football team. You bring back your quarterback this year, one of the most explosive weapons at wide receiver in the country. You got a good amount of starters on both sides of the ball. Yeah, you lost your defensive coordinator, but still, they're set up to be really good, and it's going to be fun to watch that this year, Tyler. We always talk about stacking winning seasons, right?
Sure.
Like we're talking about Texas. Oh, Texas is back. Well, we'll find that out, won't we?
Right.
But, I mean, so it's going to be interesting to see now that Missouri is, in a lot of ways, the hunted. They're not the hunter anymore. Now they're the hunted. Now there's an expectation level at Mizzou that they didn't have for a long time since they first came in the SEC. So we'll see how this program reacts after pulling 11 W's. It is going to be fun to see if they can stack it.
Well, and it's funny, I mentioned this earlier too, that that's kind of one game we haven't talked about on South Carolina's schedule a lot this year, coming up in November. But it's very realistic. Missouri could be coming in here at 7-2 or maybe 8-1. Their two toughest opponents are Bama and Oklahoma, and they might end up splitting those games for all we know. Like, this could be a top 10 team rolling into Columbia in November.
And what's driven, Gamecock fans crazy, especially our Gamecock fan, Jay Phillips, is that they can't beat Eli Drinkwitz.
Right.
They couldn't beat him in App State. They haven't beat him at Missouri. And, again, he's got a punchable face. So you hate losing to the guy with the punchable face.
Right.
And so far, South Carolina's 0 for Drinkwitz. So how ironic would it be, let's say Missouri rolls in at 8-1, and you knock them off in your barn. But it would be so football, right?
Oh, absolutely.
You can't beat them when they're mediocre or 500, but you get them when nobody's expecting you to get them. But yeah, they could have a really good record coming into Williams-Brice.
That could legitimately be one of the biggest wins of the Beamer era, and there have obviously been quite a few so far. And again, we'll have plenty more as media rolls along with you guys out there starting at noon. But of course, we got to thank all of our great partners that allow you guys to be out there this week.
Yeah, we want to thank a couple right now. The Nastapula Law Firm, reaching millions of their clients recovering, I should say, millions for their clients for over 30 years. Whether it's a slip and a fall, car accident, any other issues that have resulted from an accident, the Nastapula Law Firm can help you. Remember, this is very simple. Don't scream. Call Akeem. 800 all sevens. Also, Lexington Medical Orthopedic, board-certified physicians combining the highest quality care and treatment to get the best results. Getting you better sooner, Lex Med Ortho. We're just going to hang out here day 3, SEC Media Day. Tyler, we found out something before I let you go, Elijah and I.
Okay.
We found out we don't know if Alabama's going to win the SEC. We don't know if Alabama's going to play in the SEC championship game. But we found out something thanks to the bevy of questions from the Bama media. The Alabama football team has the most beautiful smiles in the SEC.
All right. Did they have an NIL deal with the local dentistry or something out there?
It's just beautiful smiles and smiles on their faces. We were only in there for like about 15 minutes, and we heard about smiles and beautiful smiles. We lost track of how many times.
Here's the thing, and you can tell this to Elijah. That sounds very Butch Jones to me, doesn't it?
Very
well, they just got great smiles. You know what I mean? Just 5-star hearts, champions of life, all that stuff.
They're just, they're huggable kids.
Well, we'll let you.
What? That's the difference in wins and losses.
That's right. We'll let you get back to it, and we'll hop back in with you at the top of the 12.
We'll see you, bud. All right, man.
That's Terry Ford live out at SC Media Days on Radio Row. Come back, wrap up today's edition of The Extra Point. Expansion, still a topic of conversation, though FSU and Clemson not feeling as good today as maybe they did a couple of days ago. We'll tell you why coming up. Extra Point here on The Game.
107.5 The Game.
In Columbia.
100.5 The Game.
In Florence.
100.3 The Game.
In Myrtle Beach. The Game Network. Powered by Integrated Media. The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. A true reflection of quality.
The Game TV.
This is Boomer Esiason with a Sports Minute. After SEC pundit Paul Feinbaum complained that Nick Saban's retirement has been the worst 6 months of my life, Saban replied, "He tried to ruin my life for 17 years, so I guess we're even." Meantime, the former Bama coach predicts that although Texas won't have its way in the SEC, it still will meet Georgia for the conference crown. That would be something. I'm Boomer Esiason.
Save on O'Reilly Brake Parts Cleaner. Get 2 cans of O'Reilly Brake Parts Cleaner for just $8. Valid in-store only at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
This is the story of the one. As head of maintenance at a concert hall, he knows the show must always go on. That's why he works behind the scenes, ensuring every light is working, the HVAC is humming, and his facility shines. With Grainger's supplies and solutions for every challenge he faces, plus 24/7 customer support, his venue never misses a beat. Call quickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Is your vehicle stopping like it should? Does it squeal or grind when you brake? Don't miss out on summer brake deals at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Sometimes I struggle to get to sleep. My body stopped for the day, but my mind is still running. So I take ZzzQuil.
ZzzQuil, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, has a range of non-habit-forming products to fit you and your family's needs. Invest in a great night's sleep for the best you tomorrow.
I'm awake and ready to take on anything.
Better days start with ZzzQuil nights. Explore our products at ZzzQuil.com. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Hey, I have a secret. I use Secret Whole Body Deodorant because more than just my armpits stink.
Oh, can I use it where my bra rubs under my...
Oh, yeah.
And what about down there? You know, my...
Totally. 4 out of 5 gynecologists would recommend it. So I tried it, and now I get 72 hours of freshness from my pits to my...
Ooh, I love that it's a spray.
Me too. And it comes in sticks and creams too. Go get your Secret Whole Body Deodorant.
All right, when it comes to getting life insurance for your family, a lot of excuses can get in the way. But ask yourself this. If something were to happen to me, who would pay the mortgage, the kids' education, and the other bills? Then forget the excuses and check out Ethos Life, the online, easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes. Ethos has rates that you can afford, like a $500,000 policy for a 40-year-old male starting at $1 a day or $30 a month, with a few health questions and no medical exam. Get your free quote right now at checkethos.com. That's checkethos.com. Not available in all states. Rates do vary.
Hi, everyone. Broadcaster and ER physician Dr. Jerry Punch here. We all know about the speed of sound, but have you ever thought about the sounds of speeding? If you drive over the speed limit, there are lots of sounds that you might hear. You could hear the sound of your vehicle crashing, the sound of first responders desperately trying to save you. You could even hear the sound of people crying at a funeral. Because if you drive over the speed limit, you could do damage that's beyond repair. One way or another, speeding catches up with you. Paid for by NHTSA.
The Extra Point
with Tyler Head and Gamecock Central
on the Game Network.
Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point here on the game. Tyler Head along with you for a few more minutes. Chris Clark will jump in here with me at the top of the hour for the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. We'll get more reaction to what we heard at Media Days. Also going to check in with Elijah Campbell coming up at 11:30 as well. But for the fact that this is SEC Media Days out there in Dallas, I don't think Clemson and FSU have ever been talked about more at a Media Days for the SEC as they have, this week in reference to them trying to get out of the ACC, the ongoing litigation, and what everything that's been going on there. And, Sankey made it clear in his opening remarks on Monday that the SEC is good with the 16th they have. He also spoke with Jay and Elijah yesterday on the postgame show, kind of reiterated at the same point, like, look, the SEC is not interested in expanding anytime soon. We'll go with 16, want to deal with 16 for now, and, maybe an opportunity presents itself down the line, but nothing we're looking at in the near future. And that was kind of a wink, wink, nod, nod, saying, hey, Clemson and Florida State, you're not coming here. Well, Brett McMurphy of the Action Network further maybe put the nail in the coffin of those two schools joining the SEC, as well as the Big Ten, when he put out a story yesterday morning while out at Media Days in Dallas titled, Sources, Big Ten, SEC unlikely to add Florida State if ACC does survive. And that should kind of tell you the whole story right there. And it would kind of group Clemson in there as well. But Florida State's been the one that's been pushing for this, a little bit longer. Clemson kind of tagging in as well. Their lawsuit more kind of revolving around the ACC's ability to enforce its grant of rights, and that's a little bit of a different deal. But nevertheless, both those schools are trying to escape the ACC and find greener pastures in a new conference. McMurphy, who again is at Media Days, says he talked to 3 SEC presidents recently, and they told him they had no interest in adding Florida State. If it takes 12 of the SEC's 16 schools, presidents to favor adding another school. So things already not off to a great start in that regard. And it seemed like everybody that he talked to in the Big Ten kind of also echoed the same sentiment. The interesting point this article had as well, though, is, we look at it from the standpoint of, okay, what does Florida State and or Clemson add to a league like the SEC that they don't already have? And we obviously know you already got schools in Florida and the states of South Carolina, so you're already in those big media markets. The value that they bring would not necessarily equate to the number figure they would command, which, again, if you're coming in the SEC, you're going to be making $60-some-odd million a year. I don't know if Clemson and Florida State move that needle from all the standpoints you need to, not just what you accomplish on the, on the football field. But this quote here was also very interesting. This from being an insider in the Big Ten. They said, "What's the upside of Florida State? We got what we needed by adding Southern Cal, UCLA, Oregon, and Washington. And Oregon and Washington were added at 50 cents on the dollar to help Southern Cal and UCLA. Oregon and Washington coming in as basically half members. They'll eventually get the full allotment of that media money as years go by, but not coming in with that right away. Who would want Florida State's help, and at what cost? And most importantly, who's going to pay for it?" So you have that aspect there of, what kind of revenue are they going to generate to where it makes sense as well. But also these conferences are taking notice of how rambunctious Florida State's been. Because, again, that's the crux of the whole matter, is that Florida State and Clemson, they signed this grant of rights. They agreed to this deal with the ACC a decade ago to lock this thing in through 2036. And now they're having problems with it because they see that they're not making nearly as much money at these other conferences. So the SEC and the Big Ten and the Big 12 as well are looking at this like, do we want that program a part of our conference, to where things might seem all hunky-dory one day and then they're trying to sue us and get out of it the next day? Like, they might just want to avoid the headache altogether, Now, the Big 12 does seem more open to letting them in, and those would be 2 pretty good brands for that league to add after losing Texas and Oklahoma, but that's not a done deal either. Like, we could be looking at, and this is all a what if these schools are even able to get out of the SEC, because that's not a guarantee. You know what I mean? That we could be looking at in a couple of years, if they were able to get out, Florida State might have to go be independent. And good luck finding the TV deal that Notre Dame commands, right? Like, it's not going to be easy. Be careful what you wish for. You know what I mean? You might think that the girl that, on the dance floor that you're wishing you were with is a better deal, but you try and you break off with the girl that you have and you try and go after her and suddenly realize, oh no, girl number 2 doesn't want me and now I'm all alone. Then what are you going to do? Then you're by yourself. Like, this is getting interesting. And again, this could take years to play out if these schools are going to exit the ACC. And if they exit the ACC, who knows who follows them after that. But it's not going to be any guarantee or a walk in the park of where they might land after this. But again, Clemson, Florida State being discussed more than ever at SC Media Days for good reason. Maybe not good on there necessarily. That'll do it for today's edition of The Extra Point. Coming up next, it is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Myself and Chris Clark will continue to react to everything that we've heard at Media Days so far here on your Wednesday on The Game.
.1075 The Game, broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios.
Take up to $20,000 off new Silverados.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. Together, let's drive.
New college football game is out, and I think Tyler said he's been a little bit too busy making about 50 or 60 cuts from media day every day, but he's planning